Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here today to announce that I have released a new invitation to bid on the exclusive right to provide gas and electricity services to the residents and businesses in the city of San Diego. I'm pleased this afternoon to be joined by City Council President Pro Tem Stephen Whitburn and City Council Member Raul Campillo. Gentlemen, thank you for being here with me today. When it comes to energy reliability, fire prevention, and environmental sustainability in the city of San Diego, the awarding of exclusive energy franchises are one of the most critical decisions that we will make. The invitation to bid that we are releasing today is the latest in our continuing efforts to create a greener San Diego. It will help us to create a city where all communities have equitable access to environmental benefits. Now, for the past 100 years, San Diego Gas and Electric has held the sole right to use the public's land to install and maintain pipes, poles, and wires that deliver energy to homes and businesses in San Diego. The current franchise agreements have been in place for the past 50 years. So this is a rare opportunity that we must seize. The agreements were scheduled to expire in January, but last year, the previous mayoral administration created a flawed process to award new franchise agreements. And so as one of my first acts as mayor was to cancel that process and to start over. We extended the existing agreements until June 1st to give us the time to do this right. And in partnership with all 9 city council members, I launched a robust public engagement process to educate residents and about the franchises and to solicit their input into our energy future. This included 13 virtual community forums that drew hundreds of attendees, an online survey that netted nearly 1,400 responses, and several public hearings of the City Council's Environment Committee. Members of the Council also provided incredibly valuable input, and I'm grateful to all of them for that feedback. This process that I just outlined informed and improved the invitation to bid that we are releasing today. The bottom line is that we have heard you. The invitation includes a long list of proposed terms and conditions that will help us to achieve our climate action and environmental equity goals. And, importantly, it has the teeth to ensure accountability. We are proposing 10-year agreements with an optional additional 10 years if the franchisee acts in good faith and complies with the terms and conditions. The minimum bid will be $70 million for electricity franchise and $10 million for gas, ensuring a fair deal for taxpayers. Our invitation improves upon the previous administration's proposal in a number of important ways. It includes a cooperative agreement containing 14 desired terms and commitments that, among other things, supports the city's climate action plan efforts, advances climate equity, makes San Diego more resilient to the impacts of climate change, modernizes our local energy grid, and boosts clean energy resources. It includes a requirement that the franchisees support the city's new climate equity fund that the City Council and I created earlier this month. And it includes a requirement that the franchisee have extensive experience in renewable energy integration and smart grid innovation. It gives the city the right to negotiate or change bid terms or negotiate with the franchisee to renew, extend, or amend the agreements. And it allows the city to create a municipal energy utility should we choose to. The invitation also includes several improvements over the current agreement, including strong worker protection and retention language, a tiered dispute resolution process allowing for mediation between the city and the franchisee in order to avoid costly litigation, and strong remedies such as a $30 million performance bond to protect the city's interests in case of contract breaches. Highlights of the cooperative agreement in the invitation include commitments to work with San Diego Community Power and our community choice alliance, under which the San Diego and 4 other cities purchase energy on the open market to help the city reach its renewable energy goals. Climate-proof the energy grid to implementing new fire protection and fire prevention measures. Help us move toward a green economy by transitioning away from natural gas and training gas workers for green energy jobs, as well as taking steps towards creating a more diverse workforce. Providing opportunities for low and moderate income residents to reduce their bills through energy efficiency, provide ratepayer relief during the pandemic, conduct a thorough review of customer service in underserved communities, and create a plan to improve service in those areas. Now, all bids for the gas and electricity franchises will be opened on April 16th, after which the city will determine whether to enter into negotiation with any of the bidders. We plan to bring these agreements before the City Council for a vote in May. And with this invitation to bid on gas and electricity services, we are ensuring franchise agreements that meet the need of residents, makes financial sense for the city, advances our climate goals, and provides equitable access for environmental benefits for all of our communities. And I want to be clear, to win the exclusive right to use taxpayer land to provide energy to San Diegans, the holder of these new franchises will have to be a good partner in our effort to create a city that works for all of us. With those comments, I'm happy to turn over the podium to our Council President Pro Tem, Councilmember Whitburn. Stephen?
Thank you, Mayor Gloria. It is great to join you and Councilmember Campillo. With Mayor Gloria's leadership, the city is on a much better path than what the previous administration left for this city council. Since December, there has been a robust public process. Like many of my council colleagues, I held multiple community forums to hear from and listen to the engaged residents of my district. These forums were crucial in allowing the voices and comments and feelings of our residents and community stakeholders to be heard. The public was vocal during these community forums. They let me know not just what they wanted, but what they expected from their new council member. The public clearly expects an agreement that has the teeth to hold the utility accountable and provides an off-ramp if the utility does not work cooperatively with the city. They also expect a commitment from the city to explore other utility options for our energy future. The mayor's invitation to bid gives the city the ability to hold the utility much more accountable by providing the city with the means to exit the contract after 10 years rather than the previous administration's guaranteed 20 years. The mayor's invitation to bid provides a citizens oversight board, which I hope will offer a forum for the review of all power options for our city. Today is a great first step. The mayor's invitation to bid puts the city on a better path to ensure that the city's environmental and climate action goals are met. There is still work to be done, and I look forward to the continued public process with the residents of San Diego. I thank the mayor and our city's residents for their commitment to securing the best possible deal for our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council President Pro Tem Stephen Whitburn and Mayor Gloria for your leadership on this issue of the franchise agreement. Mr. Mayor, you've been transparent and honest with San Diegans about how this process was going to go. And you've also worked to further our shared goals of environmental and ratepayer and worker protections, and fundamentally making sure that with the next franchisee, we will have a very good partner to the city of San Diego based on the clauses built into the ITB. I also appreciate the public, people from all over San Diego, and very much especially my constituents in District 7 from Mission Valley and Linda Vista out to San Carlos and Tierra Santa for taking part in the public outreach, responding to the surveys. We had hundreds upon hundreds of people respond with what they want to see in the ITB. And I also want to thank specifically members of my staff for collecting all those, putting that into what we know are going to be good planks of the ITB. Over the past couple months, since we voted to extend the franchise, we knew that we needed more time to figure out what the public wanted so that we could create a better plan than what the last administration came up with. So that's why I voted in January to extend it to June 1st. And I really appreciate the mayor's office for sticking to the schedule of all the outreach and the deadlines that we need to meet by June 1st. But of course, we want to make sure that this is fundamentally a very good contract for the citizens of San Diego. And so now that it's been released, I'm looking forward to seeing what proposals eventually come in April. And I'm incredibly encouraged that this ITB is very strong on particular topics of accountability. Biannual audits, a citizens oversight board, strong worker protections like I mentioned earlier, and making sure that whoever gets the franchise is going to stick to the terms of the contract with, as Council President Pro Tem Stephen Whitburn said, teeth if they break those clauses in the contract. I want to also emphasize that this is just the beginning of the process. We need to see who puts in a bid, what the terms of that bid look like, and then having time to negotiate. Another key aspect of this is that now Mayor Gloria will be able to negotiate after the bids are in, rather than an all or nothing, a leave it or take it proposal. So I'm excited to see what comes. I'm withholding judgment on the bid process at this point before we see what those terms are, but I just want to thank Mayor Todd Gloria for his leadership on this, because I believe it is a strong first step towards getting the best contract for the citizens of San Diego. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Council Member and Council President Pro Tem. I just want to conclude by a quick summation. Timeline is always important. I know some folks here who like timelines. So the ITB will be published later today. They'll be due on April the 16th. It's my hope that we'll spend mid-April and to mid-May negotiating with a responsive bidder that gives us something to work with. Present that proposal for the City Council for their consideration, hopefully for conclusion before the June 1st termination of our existing franchise agreement that was extended back in January. Key differences between the previous flawed approach is the ability to negotiate on the back end rather than the take it or leave it that was the previous proposal. A shorter term of 10 plus 10, a cooperation agreement that will address many of the concerns raised by the council members, the public, that are maybe not appropriate for the legal vehicle of an invitation to bid, but are relevant and important to meeting our climate action plan goals, as well as a number of other community concerns relative to energy, and accountability in the form of biannual audits, the Citizens Oversight Board, the surety bond, the alternative dispute resolution process, and importantly, that shorter term where the additional 10 years will not be possible unless the provider is acting in good faith and meeting the needs of the city. So there's a lot in there. I'm happy to try and answer some questions. Happy to do that here or do it individually. But nevertheless, thank you for providing us another opportunity to be clear with the public, transparent with what's going on, providing clarity on the process going forward, and encouraging and engaging in a conversation that, as I mentioned, does not come along very often, and is one that we will use to our maximum benefit of the city, its ratepayers, and our climate goals. Gentlemen, any questions? Correct.
So are you saying this includes a right to purchase clause?
So the current agreement, the ITB, do have a right to purchase clause, which we've always had. I think the distinction is who gets to determine the value of the assets, and under this proposal would be the courts.
It would be the courts, so nothing is changing in that sense then?
The language is very similar to the existing. We still have a right to purchase, the ability through condemnation, eminent domain, and the ability to terminate the agreement at any time. So the question was, would you have to wait 10 years? I mean, I think a part of the situation, we have the ability to terminate at any time. That process is a lengthy one, no matter which option or which door you choose to walk through. And as we've looked at that, this would be potentially approximating the same amount of time, right? So this gives us that ability to hold accountability and extend it if there's not compliance, or to cease it.
Why have an option for 10 and 10? What advantage does that give the city?
Well, so the previous mayor suggested 20 years. The city's independent consultant recommended 20 years. We have some that have asked for a significantly less amount of time. I think what we're achieving here is a length of term that would get interest to actually have bidders come forward, but not so long as to lock us into any particular position, now acknowledging that this is a very dynamic space. A lot of innovation is happening, and we want to make sure that whatever we have as an agreement is as dynamic as the circumstances we find ourselves in, both in terms of technological innovation as well as the pressures of climate change and the need to meet the needs to address that problem.
The upfront money is the same as last time. Why didn't you change that to make it higher?
Well, I would say that what we are doing is making it higher, because what we have, instead of a 20-year term for $80 million, we have essentially a guaranteed 10 for the same amount of money. As mayor of this city, someone looking at a significant budget deficit, I'd be interested in more cash. It may be through negotiation that we get more. But ultimately what I'm trying to do is make sure that we get the best value for the city, for our purposes and our needs around climate, around our needs around finances, and our needs around respecting our ratepayers.
All right, guys, one last question.
70/10 for those 10 years.
Correct. So they have under this proposal, they have the option to pay it all in once, or they can pay it annually. Again, we will see who bids and what they choose to offer us.
But if you go 10 plus 10, if it goes 20 years altogether, would they have to, the franchisee have to pay 70 and 10 again after the 11th year?
That could be a part of negotiation.
All right. For anybody who has additional questions, feel free to reach out to our office.
And last ones? All right, gentlemen, we need some more female journalists, guys. Appreciate everyone being here today. There'll be more to come in the days ahead. We'll get those documents out later today, and look forward to ongoing conversations about this important issue for our city. Again, Councilmember Campillo and Whitburn, thank you both for being here. We'll see what the future holds, but I think it's going to be much better for our climate. Thank you, guys.